Hello, class. So, for this discussion board, we are talking about a disabled person who's in a wheelchair. This person suffered an injury at his work, at his job. Well, he fell and he was paralyzed from the waist down. When the counselor interviewed the person, he noticed that he had a little bit of difficulty writing, but he was able to write and do the paperwork for the initial session. So, one of the things that we have to consider as a counselor is that when you're dealing with a person who has a physical trauma, we need to understand that the result from like people with disability that are from a result from a physical trauma, it can be very difficult for them to adjust and for them to accept the disability. Also, adjusting to the label of being a person with a disability, it can take a long period of time for them to adjust, and it can be a very painful journey. But we need to understand that the process of adjustment can interfere with the motivation that the person might have. That can interfere of how the person feel about themselves and how they see life after their injury. It can interfere, like I said, with a motivation to seek for employment or even to continue in any employment that they were in. Some individuals might experience the feeling of that whatever happened was their fault, or they feel guilty, or even they feel like they are being punished just because they have that disability. So just because of having that way of thinking and that mindset, it could be a little bit shocking for the person, but it can also bring the person to a depression. And not accepting the fact that they have a disability can make them feel less than anybody. And that's something that the counselor has to be aware of, because it's like a psychological denial of the disability, and that can impede or interfere in the counseling assistance. So, one of the things that for this individual case that we have to have in mind is that as counselors, we have to focus on helping the client um, develop a sense of well-being. Through all the process, we have to tell them to have positive thoughts, to change the way they think, but also that there's opportunities for them. There are things that they can do, and there's way they can better themselves, even though they have a disability. But as counselors, we are here to assist and assist the client in dealing with the prejudice and the discrimination fact, because especially many employers, sometimes they don't want to hire a person with a disability just because they think that person is not going to be able to do the job. So another thing that we have to have in mind is to do a vocational assessment on the person, because that way the person can explore other possibilities or other careers that are out there for them. In this individual case, the person, well, the man, yeah, the young man, he likes what he used to do, which was construction, but unfortunately, he won't be able to continue in that area. But if there are other things, he mentioned that he wanted to do like management and things like that. But unfortunately, he said he doesn't have the credentials all the time for him to be in a management position. So what I would do as a counselor is to do a vocational assessment and do it through the interest inventory, which will help this client to verify his interest, and we can introduce him to other career opportunities. So, the next step will be service planning. It will be an IPE, which is a individualized plan for employment, where I will be um, giving the person um, counseling, like how you doing, how is it going, and checking those things, like for example checking um, how he's coping with the disability, and how the the things, how what are the steps for him to start looking for a job, and then the other things that comes along. So after the service planning, it will be looking for a job, and then job placement. And then after job placement, will be giving the client a follow up. So it will be post employment services. Well, where I will be going with the client to see if he's good with the position, if he likes it, and all those things. But also, like I said, I'm trying to see if the person is coping or dealing with their disabilities, and if they seeing it in a positive way. So, from a Christian perspective, I think that it's very difficult for a person that had their body or their complete self, and then out of nowhere they just lost it, or they just lose it. I worked with a person who lost his sight. He lost his sight 9 years ago, and sometimes I talk to him and he tells me that it's very difficult when you have something and then you don't have it than if you don't never had it. So for him has been very difficult coping and dealing with rejection, and dealing with um, people who, or employers who just don't want to give employment to him just because they think he won't be able to deliver or to do the job. So, as a Christian counselor, I will definitely um, just guide that person to God. Just tell that person that there's a reason for everything that happens to us. And that's one of the things that this person in particular, that this coworker tells me. He tells me that he believed this disability came to his life for a reason, and it was for him to know God. Because after he lost his sight, it was when he converted to Christianity. So I believe everything happens for a reason. God forbid anything happens to us, but we have to uh, just see everything as a purpose, everything as if God has a plan for everything that we go through. And that will be something that I tell my client as a Christian counselor. So this is my post for this week. Thank you very much.